Good evening. We're learning more tonight about the agreement to pause the 50% tariffs that would have gone into effect today.
Well, Donald Trump is boasting about it. Prime Minister Mark Carney will only say the agreement reinforces the Canadian advantage. CTV's Mike Lecouteur has the latest from Washington.
After an intense week of negotiations, Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and his American counterpart emerged shoulder to shoulder, happy with the deal they've reached.
We've reached an agreement that will not only continue to protect American workers, American jobs, American supply chains, but really strengthen the North American economy and create a situation where North America will continue to be an energy powerhouse.
Three sources tell CTV News there are reductions in the Section 232 tariffs on the table as part of the agreement. Those would affect industries like steel and aluminum.
We may bring some of the tariffs down to a level where other countries are, because Canada was paying a higher tariff.
U.S. President Donald Trump proudly posted about the agreement, adding this AI image about the resurrection of the Keystone XL pipeline. Trump has also long complained about American access to Canada's supply-managed dairy sector.
The tariffs will be non-existent for our farmers. Our farmers were paying tremendous tariffs into Canada, and those tariffs are going to be totally eviscerated, down to zero.
LeBlanc tried to reassure reporters that the decades-old system isn't disappearing.
The Prime Minister was very clear. We needed to protect supply management. We needed to ensure that the supply management regime remained entirely intact, and I'm confident that that's the case.
The Prime Minister was less clear on social media, posting that the deal is, quote, securing the best terms in each of Canada's most important strategic sectors and providing greater certainty about our future trading relationship. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he hopes Carney stuck to his word.
That's what he promised, an even better deal than we had before. To me, that should mean no tariffs on steel, aluminum, autos, lumber, and an exemption to Buy America.
While few details have been made public, Dominic LeBlanc has returned to Ottawa, and the Prime Minister is briefing his cabinet as well as the premiers this afternoon. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Washington.
One of the key points for the American side is believed to be the return of U.S. alcohol to Canadian store shelves.
All but two provinces have pulled American alcohol. If a deal is reached, it's expected to return. But will Canadian consumers rush back to buying it? CTV's Mike Walker is live tonight with more. Mike.
Well, Andrea and Michelle, American distillers are hoping their products will soon return to store shelves, but most people we've been speaking with today tell us they don't plan on buying American alcohol if it becomes available again, and that's supported by a recent poll. American alcohol might end up back on store shelves amid a tentative trade deal with the U.S., but many consumers say the ongoing trade war and its tariffs has left them with a bad taste.
We'll stick with Canadian products, thanks. We've changed our shopping habits, and we're going to keep that up.
Others say they've adapted.
We found it no challenge, really, to move on from American red wines to Australian and South American red wines.
American alcohol has been a bargaining chip in trade talks with boycotts in place in all but two provinces. The U.S. alcohol industry is hoping relations can return to normal.
We have lost 73% of our exports. Historically, the United States exports about $220 million worth of American spirits to Canada, and that's all but been shattered.
But acknowledges there's no guarantee that Canadians will buy U.S. booze again. In fact, if American alcohol returns to shelves, a recent poll from Nanos Research for CTV News found 74% of Canadians are unlikely to buy it.
I don't think I'd go back to Kentucky bourbon. I'm quite happy with Crown Royal so long as they bottle it in Canada.
I like California wines. And I want Ford to put it back.
Marketing experts suggest dedicated consumers will rejoice not to cross-border shop for U.S.-made beer, wine, and spirits, but say it will take significant time for American brands to rebuild popularity in the Canadian marketplace.
Because people do develop habits, and those habits tend to have some degree of stability over time.
Ontario cleared and boxed up American products from LCBO shelves in early March 2025 in retaliation to sweeping U.S. tariffs imposed on Canadian goods. Premier Doug Ford stated last week the ban could be lifted if there is a fair deal that protects Canadian industries.
Before anything happens, we protect our auto sector, our steel sector, our agricultural sector, our forestry sector.
Looking at the bigger picture, many consumers still leery.
I don't trust anything Trump says. I never have.
If this is in fact a done deal. American distillers are hoping that the premiers will agree to finalize this deal and have their products return on store shelves. At this point, there's no word from the Ford government if and when that will happen. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. And just ahead, we will have more coverage on the tariff pause, including the hopes and concerns of impacted Canadian industries, waiting to hear how a potential deal would affect their livelihoods.
It was a beautiful day outside today, depending on actually where you were. Lindsay Morrison joins us now to look at the current conditions. Lindsay, I was driving up from downtown and there was some rain, and I got to the station. It looked like a lot more rain on rainfall on the ground, but my husband played golf and he said no rain.
Yeah, really dependent on where you were today, Andrea. Very isolated showers this afternoon. The rain was a bit more widespread early this morning, and now we are enjoying pretty dry conditions across our province and a fair amount of sun. Still a couple of sprinkles of rain out near Grimsby and over towards St. Catharines, and a little cell just moving over Lake Ontario. Otherwise, though, it's a pretty nice evening. In fact, 26 degrees at Pearson Airport right now. Feels closer to 30, so there is a bit of humidity a factor tonight. Winds out of the northwest. That's a fresh breeze. In fact, it's much less humid the further north you travel away from the GTA. If you're headed out and about this evening, you can expect that it's going to be mainly dry and mainly sunny until that sun sets after 8 p.m. tonight. Here's the overnight, a little below seasonal for us. 14 degrees is what we're forecasting, but it should be clear. No threat of rain into tomorrow morning. However, we do have to talk about a little unsettled weather over the weekend. That's coming up, but for now, Andrea, I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Just days to go before the close of nominations for the upcoming municipal election, and late today, word that one longtime councillor will not be running.
Paula Fletcher announced her retirement this afternoon, just 2 days after registering to run again in Toronto Danforth. CTV's Janice Golding is live tonight on the Danforth with more on Fletcher's decision. A bit of a surprise, Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, that is what people have been telling me in the area. Now they say they've got to decide who to vote for. They need to know who they'll be voting for in this race. They said 2 days just after she announced that she was going to be running again, Paula Fletcher decided that she was going to pull out of the race. In a statement she posted on X today, Fletcher said she was paddleboarding in Lake Ontario this morning when she made the decision. The Toronto Danforth councillor said she'd been encouraged to run again and had initially registered because she believed there's still so much to do. The 23-year veteran also reflected on her role in the revitalization of Toronto's waterfront and the restoration of the Don River, and said she was proud of the work she'd done with councillors past and present. Ultimately, however, Fletcher said she decided the time had come to pass the torch to the next generation. Here's more from the councillor herself.
My job has just been a dream come true with the many, many things that we've been able to do. And the waterfront is the cherry on top. Padassagate Park, being able to name that park with an Indigenous name, sun shining on the water. God, I love that. And it's a beautiful place. It's the top destination in Toronto already. The affordable housing I managed to get that's going to be built there, 30%. Those are the things I've worked for. I honestly don't know what I could do next.
Torontonians will head to the polls on October 26th, and Fletcher says she will stay on and finish out her term mid-November. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle.
Thank you, Janice. Meanwhile, former MP Nate Erskine-Smith is now running to become a member of Toronto City Council. Erskine-Smith submitted his paperwork at City Hall this morning to run as a candidate in Beaches, East York. He previously served as the MP for the riding. Erskine-Smith resigned his seat last month after attempting to run provincially but failing to secure the Ontario Liberal nomination in Scarborough Southwest.
I had an opportunity to work together with Mayor Chow when I was housing minister for a brief time. We worked very well together. We got a lot done together for our city, and there's a real opportunity, I think, for collaboration. And I'm looking forward to, I hope, working together with Mayor Chow and delivering for my community and for our city and then some. And two, there are big issues to tackle across the city. You know, housing obviously is a passion of mine, has been a passion of mine across my politics, and I'm hoping to make a difference on the housing file. But there are many other files too, from climate action, environment, and most importantly, frankly, just making city services work effectively for constituents and for our community.
There are 11 other candidates and no incumbent running in the Aug.19 race. Well, we are just weeks away from the expiration of labor contracts for teachers' unions in this province.
That will happen just days before the start of the school year, leading to some uncertainty about what it could mean for teachers and students. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live tonight with more. Siobhan.
Well, Andrea, it's probably not what mums and dads want to hear, but right now the two sides aren't really talking, still negotiating exactly what negotiations will look like.
With the return of school routine creeping closer, it's becoming clear that none of Ontario's education unions will have a contract in place in time for the first bell.
Something that I did this summer.
Existing deals expire at the end of August. Negotiations are stuck working out how they'll be organized, waiting for the Labor Relations Board to weigh in.
We're not even arguing about how these issues are going to ultimately be resolved. We're arguing about where we're allowed to bargain them in the first place.
Teachers unions say that list of issues is long, boiling down to being asked to do more with less.
It is the student waiting longer for help. It's fewer adults in the school. It's heavier workloads. It's good unionized jobs disappearing from communities.
The Minister of Education unavailable for an interview today, but writes in a statement that bargaining is at an early stage. He has expressed optimism for reaching a deal.
I want the absolute best for teachers, and I want a fair deal for taxpayers, and I think we're going to get there. There'll be some tough negotiations, obviously. But they're always tough.
Any work stoppage or other workplace action by teachers would be way down the road. But public elementary teachers will vote on the possibility of a strike this fall.
We're hoping that if we do engage in the strike vote process, that process does pressure the government to say our members are serious.
Unions are bracing for a barrage of government ads. CTV News has obtained a script from one potential ad that was being prepared last month, targeting sick days, proposing notes be required.
That's a distraction intended to move us away from talking about the real issues impacting our schools.
Paul Calandra emphasizes that teachers' unions have been running their own ads for more than a year and says the government has a responsibility to address inconsistent attendance.
Now, the president of OSSTF feels the last few rounds of contract talks have become so dysfunctional, she's now calling on the government to repeal the bill that organizes those negotiations. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. A pilot who went missing after taking off from the Oshawa airport on Friday has been found dead. 73-year-old David Douglas flew out of the airport on Friday in a homemade plane and never returned. The OPP confirming today that Douglas was found dead after the aircraft was located submerged in Wolf Lake in the Kawartha Lakes area. Investigators are now working on a plan to extract the plane. Police say the Transportation Safety Board is investigating what happened.
A 50-year-old man is dead following a crash between a motorcycle and a transit bus in Brampton. It happened shortly before 9:30 a.m. in the area of Bovard and Great Lakes Drive, west of Dixie. The motorcycle rider was pronounced dead at the scene.
We were crossing from opposite side. We passed the bus, and then he was coming along because from the last signal, I think he arrived, and he was coming along. And then when we passed, right after passing, I heard a noise, like tire squeezing noise, and then slam, boom.
Speed may be a factor in this collision. We still have yet to completely reconstruct the collision, speak to witnesses, look at CCTV footage, and even look at the black box of the vehicles themselves. So that will give us more information as to how this incident took place.
The bus sustained damage to its rear door. Police say the driver wasn't hurt in the collision. Investigators are appealing for witnesses and dash cam footage of the crash.
In Hamilton, an elderly woman who was hit by a car last night has died of her injuries. Investigators say the 91-year-old was walking in a bike lane near Upper Wellington Street and Stone Church Road East just after 8:30 p.m. They say she was struck from behind by a Hyundai driven by an 81-year-old woman. The pedestrian was transported to Hamilton General Hospital, where police today said she was pronounced dead. There's no word on charges at this point as this investigation continues.
A 28-year-old man is dead after being struck by a vehicle in Ajax. The man was hit around 8:40 yesterday in the area of Salem Road and Chambers Drive. Police say a transport truck was exiting the westbound off-ramp from the 401 at Salem Road when it made a right turn and struck the man, who was on rollerblades. The man was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the truck, a 60-year-old man, remained at the scene and was cooperative with police.
Meanwhile, an e-scooter rider has died days after crashing into a parked vehicle in North York. This happened in the area of Jane and Driftwood just after 1:30 a.m. on Sunday. Police say the 60-year-old man was riding an e-scooter westbound on Driftwood when he crashed into the open driver's side door of a parked vehicle. He was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries, where he died yesterday. An investigation into this incident continues. And Toronto police are investigating a rash of vehicle break-ins in Scarborough. Police say 20 vehicles were damaged at an apartment complex near Kingston Road in Shepherd early Tuesday morning. Another 5 vehicles were damaged in the Shepherd and Morningside area. So far, no word on any suspects.
To BC, where the destructive Bald Range wildfire is expected to grow in size, the 227-square-kilometer blaze is still out of control after destroying or damaging about 150 structures. The forecast calls for high temperatures and shifting winds this week in the South Okanagan. But there's some good news. Most evacuation orders have been lifted for the town of Summerland after the side of the fire facing the community calmed down, but they're still on evacuation alert. There are about currently 130 blazes across the province.
Here in Ontario, the Rinker Lake complex wildfires are still burning west of Lake Nipigon, but officials say activity remains low and they will be allowing entry back into nearby areas as of tomorrow morning. There are 78 wildland fires burning in the northwest region, 9 deemed out of control, and 41 in the northeast, with 1 not under control there. Overseas in Ukraine, a Russian drone strike on a minibus in the southern city of Kherson killed 4 people today. Another person died in a separate drone attack on a car in the central part of the city. Meanwhile, Ukraine and Russia have exchanged 103 prisoners of war each. Kyiv and Moscow have carried out regular POW swaps throughout the war. Ukrainian intelligence says another exchange is expected before the end of the month. Ukraine expects that will include the return of personnel who have been held for a prolonged period.
Israel's military has announced its first criminal investigations into troop conduct in the war with Hamas. The focus is on the 2024 killings of a 5-year-old girl and her family in the Gaza Strip and the deaths of 15 Palestinian paramedics last year. Today, medics in the occupied territory said an Israeli airstrike killed 9 Palestinians at a police station. Several officers were among the casualties. 15 people were injured. Earlier in the day, medics say a separate airstrike killed 1 Palestinian at a refugee camp in the central part of the Gaza Strip. Israel says the attack targeted a Hamas militant.
In Beirut, a Canadian government official has restated Ottawa's opposition to the Israeli presence in Lebanon.
We condemn the invasion of Lebanon by Israel. We believe Lebanon should be governing its own space, having its own sovereignty over its lands, and nobody. We believe that's an unlawful invasion of Lebanese territory. So Canada and our Prime Minister has made that very clear.
The UN says about 360,000 people remain displaced as a result of the conflict between Israel and the Iran-backed Hezbollah. Israel launched a ground invasion and is now occupying dozens of towns and villages in the south. Israeli officials insist the troops won't leave until the militant group is disarmed. Sarai was in Lebanon yesterday to announce new humanitarian aid.
SpaceX has released videos showing the world's most powerful rocket prior to its recovery from the Indian Ocean. The upper stage of Starship splashed down intact on July 24th, following the latest test flight of the rocket. It floated there for 24 days, and the company thought rough seas would prevent any attempt to recover the 52-meter-long vehicle. But yesterday, SpaceX announced it had been towed to shore near Australia and will continue on to the company's Texas headquarters for further analysis. It's the first time an upper stage has ever survived a test flight.
Meanwhile, NASA has released before and after animation of a crater formed when part of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket slammed into the moon at 8,700 kilometers per hour 2 weeks ago. The upper stage had been drifting through space for over a year after a mission to deploy 2 lunar landers. Scientists have determined the new crater is 18 meters wide and less than 3 meters deep. One other space-related story for you tonight. Scientists have discovered the fastest known star in our galaxy. It is zipping around a supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way, 25,000 kilometers per second. It's also 10 times closer to the black hole than any stars previously observed there. All of them are affected by the hole's gravitational pull, and this star's close proximity helps it reach its record-breaking speed.
After the break, more on the tariff pause and the U.S. and Canada work towards a deal. We'll head to the border to speak with people from both sides about their hopes and concerns.
Well, there's a lot to like about tomorrow weather-wise. We're going to have more in the way of sun. Temperature is going to be very similar to what we are experiencing right now. And then as we jump ahead to Friday, big day in our city, the CNE will be back in town. And this is looking like a nice day to go to the X. The weekend, perhaps less ideal, but it's not expected to be a washout. We'll take you through that forecast coming up here on CTV News. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Returning to our top story, an apparent Canada-U.S. trade agreement may be close, potentially averting a new round of punishing tariffs.
But there's no deal signed yet, and those 50% duties could still happen. CTV senior correspondent Judy Trinh reports on the trepidation ahead of the new extended deadline.
Our farmers are going to be thrilled. Our manufacturers are going to be thrilled. And basically, we have no tariffs going into Canada.
There's no doubt Donald Trump likes to win, prompting Canadians to wonder what they could lose. Giving Americans bigger quotas of milk and cheese could chip away at protections for Canada's 9,000 dairy farms.
It will become irrelevant because there will be so much milk entering from every other country that supply management will no longer work. So it's our worry right now.
We are asking the federal government to work for a reduction of the tariffs that are being applied, and we also avoid any new tariffs and also make sure that there is a review.
There are some signs tariffs on automobiles could be reduced. Auto parts manufacturers are hoping the U.S. understands that cars partly made in Canada are de facto American vehicles.
And remind the Americans that a General Motors pickup truck in Oshawa with 50% U.S. content and 60% U.S. steel in it is as much an American car as the one that's made in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And they're just shooting themselves in the foot.
Singular bow. Meanwhile, small businesses like Victoire Boutique, which sells Canadian-made jewelry and clothes to American customers online, are breathing a sigh of relief. It appears a deal may stave off Trump's new 50% tariffs on $28 billion of Canadian goods.
We want to support our industry. We want to make things easier for our customers and not fall into the trap of thinking this is a normal way of operating.
Right now, there's cautious optimism, but until Friday's deadline passes and there's a signed document, there won't be any certainty. Judy Trinh, CTV News, Ottawa.
We've heard from the politicians and the pundits, but what do the people think about the latest developments in the trade war?
CTV's Heather Wright was at the border in Niagara Falls, Ontario today, sampling opinions from both Canadians and Americans.
More than 20 million people visit Niagara Falls every year. Tourists from around the world, as well as those from the two countries that share this landmark. So we stood on a corner in the tourist area, and it didn't take long to find Canadians and Americans with opinions on this trade war and the possible deal to end it.
I think the whole thing's kind of ridiculous. We should have a good relationship with Canada.
I hope it's over, and I hope it doesn't happen again, but we've gone through this multiple times.
There was skepticism among many, not just about whether this deal will get done, but also whether U.S. President Donald Trump won't change his mind down the road.
He, goes one way one day, and then, 3 weeks later he goes, oh, well, that was the worst deal ever, and, so who knows what's going to happen.
With the cost of living high in both countries, some are hopeful a deal will ease at least some pressure on finances.
I mean, the price of everything has gone up, so yeah, we definitely would prefer if our government made some different choices.
And while some believe concessions are necessary,
we can get some middle term to end this battle.
Others want Canada to hold strong and not bow to unreasonable demands.
If it doesn't work for both of us, then let's not do it. We don't want to play this administration's game.
Elizabeth Wennick is worried that a deal could allow more products, some produced with lower standards, into this country.
We need to stand firm on all of our standards and keep them high.
And while a deal seems imminent, there are many Canadians here who would be fine if the government kept fighting to stand up for Canada's interests.
We can do better. We're Canadians. We have more power than we actually use.
For John Dickinson, he's just tired of the whole fight.
How about we just play like nice children in the sandbox instead of, well, I'm bigger than you and I'm just going to bully you. And that's all it is.
And while there is hope that this trade war will soon be over, many acknowledge that it's unlikely the tension between the two countries will end overnight. Heather Wright, CTV News, Niagara Falls, Ontario.
So you can see in Niagara, just like kind of here today, we had some rain, there's sunshine. If we're looking, what is this? Is that the CNE? Oh, they're getting ready for Friday. Goodness. It's looking pretty nice at this hour.
Absolutely, and we'll have more on the CNE a little bit later on. But Lindsay, people are really going to be looking forward to that CNE forecast. I know people go rain or shine, but people really like the shine.
I know, we want the shine for the next few days. We will have it, short range forecast. Long range, it's maybe less ideal heading into the weekend, but there are going to be dry periods this weekend. So while it's not a slam dunk, $1 million forecast for the weekend, there will be some nice periods as well. Yeah, maybe not the best view of Niagara Falls today with some showers. In fact, they were ongoing in parts of our province today, this afternoon, of course, early this morning in the city of Toronto. This is what it looked like after that first round of showers had moved through early on. We had some lingering cloudiness. Then the clouds rolled away and we enjoyed a fair amount of sunshine. And at this hour, we are enjoying lots of sun. Still a couple of little cells tracking their way out over Lake Ontario, as well as out over Lake Erie at this hour. So yes, we are starting to see the active weather story wind down. If you happen to be joining us from parts of central Ontario, including Sudbury, North Bay, you have a little more activity in your neck of the woods once again. But high pressure is going to move into southern Ontario and stick around for the next couple of days here. Generally, when we have high pressure, that means an absence of active weather, and in our case, it's going to mean a whole lot of sunshine for both Thursday and Friday. Not a perfect blue sky, though. You might notice some high-level cloud there draping across for early Thursday. Friday looks excellent for heading out to the CNE or whatever else you may have planned. Let's talk about Saturday. So notice how I've paused this here midday. The first half of the day is going to be dry, and not just dry, but we should enjoy a fair amount of sun. Cloud cover does mix in, and by the afternoon, this is what we're dealing with. Widespread rain. I don't necessarily want to call it showers because we could get some pretty heavy downpours, especially in communities where a thunderstorm develops, and that looks possible across the GTA again as we progress through the afternoon and into the evening hours. Perhaps some leftover wet weather into the day on Sunday as well. The temperature part of your story looks like this. 25 degrees right now here in the city, feeling more like 27. The humidity a factor today, but not everywhere. And then overnight tonight, it's going to be a little cool. We have a clear sky, so we're not getting the insulation keeping us warm. 14 degrees is what we're forecasting for a low here in the city. A little below average, and look at some of these communities. Peterborough, Bancroft, into the single digits. So yes, might be a little bit of a cool start tomorrow morning, perhaps sweater weather. Don't really like to say that in the month of August, but here we are. September is in view. 26 degrees tomorrow, feeling like 29, so quite similar to what we're experiencing right now. A mainly sunny sky means that it will be a great day to maybe head to the beach or enjoy whatever else you may still have to check off your summer bucket list. Nice looking day for tomorrow for the most part. Low 20s for some, mid 20s for others. let's talk about the next 3 days here. So Thursday, Friday, looking great. Saturday, the temperature is still around 25 degrees, but yes, we do have perhaps some heavy downpours in store for some, again, in the afternoon and early evening. Your morning looks nice. Sunday, not only are we still dealing with possible showers, again, not an all-day event, but we're still dealing with some wet weather. We're also going to feel a little bit cooler. So 21 degrees, the expected high that day, remaining below seasonal through the early part of next week. But it doesn't last. We're going to warm back up as the week goes on and return to the chance of showers by about next Wednesday. That's your look at the weather for now. Stay with us. CTV News. We'll be back after this break.
Welcome back. With a quartet of Beatles biopics currently in production, a rights company representing the Fab Four has signed a new merchandising deal.
Love, love me do. You know I love you.
Before your time, Michelle, Apple Corps Limited and Universal Music Group said they'd reached a long-term global partnership related to the Beatles. The deal with UMG covers worldwide physical and digital merchandise licensing and e-commerce on behalf of the band. The announcement comes as director Sam Mendes is working on the Beatles, a 4-film cinematic event. The movies will tell the story of each member, with Harris Dickinson playing John Lennon, Paul Mescal portraying Paul McCartney, Barry Keoghan as Ringo Starr, and Joseph Quinn as George Harrison. They're expected, yes, all 4 films are expected to debut in 2028.
Look forward to that. An upcoming movie that was reportedly the subject of a bidding war at the Cannes Film Festival is out with its first trailer.
I have news. What? I found out I have a kid. What?
Club Kids stars Jordan Firstman in his directorial debut. It tells the story of a New York City club promoter whose life is turned upside down by the arrival of a 10-year-old son he never knew he had. The movie was an official selection at Cannes, and Variety reports it garnered interest from several studios. Club Kid comes to theaters in November. Well, ahead of next month's Toronto International Film Festival, a special event was held today.
Its goal was to showcase some of the Canadian talent that will be appearing at TIFF.
And ready, 3, 2, 1.
It's the class photo for TIFF's Canadian contingent for 2026. In addition to the traditional festival, TIFF unveiled TIFF The Market, where filmmakers can shop around their projects and make deals with financiers and producers. TIFF CEO Cameron Bailey.
What people might not know is we have almost 9,000 films and shows submitted to us every year. It's very tough to get into the festival.
The festival is on track to welcome 6,000 delegates from more than 80 countries with 30 exhibitors and nearly 300 films. This year's Canadian lineup features 61 features and short films, with 55 of them making world premieres. Many of the Canadian filmmakers spoke about their films today.
The Betrayers is a story about an Israeli politician and his mistress who escape political scandal in Israel and run off to Crimea, where he encounters the man who denounced him to the KGB 40 years earlier. This is also the first Canada-Ukraine co-production, which I think very important to say.
There's a new film about Terry Fox.
I think sometimes we put these heroes on these pedestals and they become larger than life, but this film is something that I wanted to make to show his sense of humor and really get a sense of this 21-year-old doing this remarkable thing.
A short film about fast food delivery drivers.
Butter Chicken To Go is about 3 South Asian delivery drivers, and we follow them during the dinner rush in winter. But it's been surreal to have the support of these large organizations like the NFB and TIFF.
A trans woman's activism in later life.
Hopefully the film puts forward a conversation about how we care for senior queer people, but for seniors in general.
And award-winning filmmaker Barry Avrich and Mark Selby return.
This film is called Darlene Love, I Know Where I've Been, probably the greatest comeback story in the music industry ever. Ultimately, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She's 85 years old and still a powerhouse.
And this invitation from Alexandra Lazarovich, director of Turtle Island Rap.
Come see the film at TIFF. I think it's going to be a wonderful community party, and people are going to be really excited to see this film.
It's not about the lyrics, it's the way you're delivering it. It just feels like your first year of rapping.
Why are you roasting me?
This film or any film, the 51st Annual Toronto International Film Festival starts on September 10th. And with the festival fast approaching, cinema fans are scouring the official schedule to figure out which screenings they'd like to see. TIFF members can buy tickets in stages starting Friday the 21st, with early bird individual members going on the 26th and the rest on the 27th. The TIFF Insider pre-sale and under 25 free pass on sale is on the 28th. There's so many things to consider. Members of the public can then access the site and look for tickets on August 31st. Once again, TIFF runs from the 10th to the 20th of September.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before TIFF, as always, comes the late August tradition of heading to the Canadian National Exhibition. And the TTC is increasing service to make it easier to get to the CNE. The transit agency will boost service on bus and streetcar routes serving Exhibition Place. Dedicated CNE Express shuttle buses will also provide non-stop service between Dufferin Station and Dufferin Gate Loop, taking advantage of the transit priority lane.
These services will be running all day. They'll be running as long as the CNE is open. So, it's usually till like 11:30 or something at night. So we'll make sure we have enough service out there. Again, the other learning that we took away from the World Cup was having staff out there. So we're going to have a lot of staff out there too to help people. The staff ambassadors, they'll be able to direct people. So we got a lot of really good learnings from serving the exhibition grounds during the World Cup. We'll extend all of that, and of course, however long the CNE is open during the day, we'll be there to service people, and also those employees that are working and then maybe there a little later.
Full details are at ttc.ca/CNE.
And just ahead, we'll go to the X with CTV's Jessica Smith for a preview of this year's attractions and, of course, outrageous edible options.
Shares of Moderna soared today after the biotech firm announced promising trial results for a cancer vaccine. BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has more.
The stock started the day at about $63 U.S. It ended the day at $174 U.S. So it ended the day up almost 177% on those positive results for the melanoma vaccine. Now, if approved, the treatment would be the first of a kind. The Moderna and Merck vaccine would be tailored for patients based on their unique tumors. Those who received it at trial lived longer without cancer returning or metastasizing. Amazon has already started using drones to deliver smaller packages, but now says it's ready to expand. It plans to use them to deliver to suburban areas of 500 U.S. cities. The packages have to be 5 pounds or under and will be free for Prime members if the order is worth more than $50 U.S. The Competition Bureau wants to block a proposed deal by Norterra Foods to buy Green Giant and Le Sueur brands in Canada from U.S.-based B&G Foods. Norterra is based in Quebec and has been the producer of both brands in Canada for 30 years. But the Bureau says because Norterra already processes canned and frozen vegetables for Del Monte and Garden brands in Canada, it would lead to less competition in the space. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 72.41 U.S. West Texas Intermediate up to 85.83 U.S. a barrel. Western Canadian Select down to 65.67. And the TSX gained 33 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Different parts of the country host different industries, meaning any trade deal with the United States could have varying impacts from coast to coast to coast. Toronto Region Board of Trade President and CEO Gilles Gershon shared what he's keeping an eye on.
For the Toronto region, it'll be very, very important that, for example, the auto tariffs are significantly reduced. We would like to see them eliminated. We've had free trade in automotive since 1965 between Canada and the United States, and then all of a sudden we've been hit with these significant tariffs, which have really done significant damage to our sector. And we think about that in the Toronto context. That is a lot of jobs, not just in the assembly facilities, and 2 of which are now shuttered in our region for the moment anyway, and then the supply chain around that. A lot of very good jobs, and this is an important sector.
As trade tensions with the U.S. come to a head, Gershon said Canada should also remain focused on reducing interprovincial barriers that keep the country from operating like a single market.
A new ranking names Toronto as the third best technology hub in North America. Real estate and investment firm CBRE ranked the top 50 markets in Canada and the U.S. They were ordered based on their competitive advantages and appeal to both employers and employees. Toronto was given high marks for the size of its workforce at roughly 358,000 people, along with the average salary for its workers at $122,000.
After opening several locations in the GTA, U.S. burger chain Shake Shack is expanding its local footprint. The company is planning to open locations in Oakville and Burlington sometime this year. A new Shack will follow in London in 2027, and it'll be the first in Ontario to have drive-through service. Shake Shack says its menu in this country features 100% premium Canadian ingredients, and it's got a goal of opening at least 35 locations nationwide.
We're getting a new signal on how homeowners are faring south of the border. In the latest quarterly results from Lowe's, the U.S. home improvement retailer said today it expects no growth in comparable sales compared to last year. That forecast comes as consumers have remained cautious on expensive renovation projects and discretionary spending. Higher mortgage rates and limited home resales have also dampened demand for larger projects like kitchen remodels and bathroom renos. Unlike Lowe's, however, rival Home Depot beat sales and profit estimates for the quarter after betting on demand for smaller repair and maintenance projects.
TikTok is best known as a platform for viral video trends, but as it becomes more popular, a report suggests it's exploring a step into the world of financial services. Bloomberg reports code located in the current version of the U.S. iPhone app could enable the sending of money via direct messages. The feature would use a function called TikTok Pay, which is already operating in Southeast Asia. A spokesperson for TikTok told Bloomberg the feature isn't being tested at this time. The report says consumers worldwide have spent more than $2.9 billion so far this year on TikTok. It's been the top app globally in terms of in-app purchase revenue since 2022.
It's a busy night for Toronto sports teams. 3 of them are in action.
At bat here, and he laces this ball deep left center. Gone!
The Blue Jays will be going for their second straight win in Tampa after last night's 10-5 opener. Max Scherzer gets the start for Toronto against the American League leaders. The Jays have won 8 of their last 11 games and entered tonight's matchup half a game back of that final wild card spot.
Big stop for the tempo. Sykes takes it coast to coast and 1 for Slim.
Yeah. The Tempo right back at it following last night's 101-95 loss to Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever at Scotiabank Arena. Toronto's losing streak is now 11 games, but it'll look to end that tonight in Washington. The Mystics have won their 3 previous meetings with the Tempo.
Dropping that from Mihailovic, couldn't handle it himself, and now Dorsch! Yes!
Toronto FC is coming off a 2-1 victory over New England last weekend and will go for 2 in a row when it hosts Charlotte FC tonight. The visitors have won their last 4 matches against Toronto. TFC is 4 points out of a wild card spot with 15 games left to play.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
It's a sure sign summer is drawing to a close. The Canadian National Exhibition is set to officially open its gates on Friday.
And today, CTV's Jessica Smith got a sneak peek at some of the attractions at this year's fair.
It's an end-of-summer staple. The Canadian National Exhibition is about to begin, celebrating 147 years of rides, food, and fun.
You know what I love? This is Canada's fair, and everywhere I go, people say I had my first job at the X, or I was on my first date on the X, or, you know, this is where we come multi-generationally to celebrate our family, our friends coming together.
It all begins Friday with a special guest at opening ceremonies who is out of this world.
We're ready to have our best year yet. You know, we got Jeremy Hansen coming on Friday to open up really the most incredible space exhibit that's ever been in Canada.
The C&E experience lets you explore outer space from Earth with a large-scale interactive interstellar exhibition.
Pour it in and go
Another big draw, the wonderful and wacky food items, like the popcorn falafel bowl, deep-fried pizza slices, mouth-watering barbecue, and so much more.
Showcasing the carnival cone. So it's our award-winning mac and cheese, which is made into an ice cream ball, right? And so what we did was we finished it off in the fryer. We have our sweet candy yams in the bottom. And we also drizzle some of our award-winning mac and cheese sauce on top.
There's a star-studded musical lineup along with dance and acrobatic performances.
The first weekend, we've got Lupe Fiasco, we've got Lights and Shaggy. We've got, obviously, the things you expect, like Super Dogs and the skating show.
The perfect sign-off from a busy summer in the city.
All the family-friendly fun and delicious food begins this Friday and runs all the way through to September 7th. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
So what do? Do you go weird or just tried and true when you eat at the X?
Tried and true.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it. I want it to stay with me as I go on the ride. So no, tried and true. All of that looks fantastic and very interesting, but no.
No. I want to try the lobster on a stick with the butter and the lemon. That looks good.
Yeah, I think you and I are going weird.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can make that happen at some point.
You need a knife and fork, and the X is all about walking.
It's on a stick.
Right.
You can just gobble it up. Anyways, weather-wise, Friday's looking great.
It really is. Friday looks like the great day to head out and enjoy the Canadian National Exhibition. Here's another look at what you can expect as we make our way through the next couple of days here. If we can, we'll show it to you. There's the camping forecast. And one more look at your weekend forecast. Showers and storms are possible. Michelle and Andrea.
Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us. But catch Omar Sajudeen at 11 tonight for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Ahmed with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.
Good night.